You know that moment when you've been reading the instruction manual for like a really complicated new piece of machinery for days?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and you've studied every single diagram, you've memorized every warning label, you know exactly how it's supposed to work in theory.
Right, in theory.
But then finally you actually have to, press the power button and let the blades spin.
Yeah, and the transition from theory to practice is usually the exact moment you realize the manual, no matter how incredibly detailed it was, didn't actually prepare you for the reality of it.
No, not at all.
Like how the machine actually vibrates in your hands.
Yes, it's that terrifying, but also kind of exhilarating switch from simply learning about something to actually doing it.
Mhm.
And today, Monday, June 1st, 2026, we are looking at a set of sources that, they really force us to make that exact switch.
They really do.
We are diving into a weekly astrological forecast alongside its beautifully written mythological companion piece. It's called The Well of Unasked Questions, and both of these were created by Tarot by Heitai C.
It's a fascinating material this week.
It is, and the mission for this deep dive is to explore how to safely navigate this shift. Because if the month of May felt like preparation, like reading that manual we just talked about, June arrives asking what you're actually going to do with everything you've learned.
Right, and the overarching theme of the forecast really highlights this return of momentum. There are unexpected opportunities popping up, but it also draws a crucial razor-thin line between reacting to a situation and truly responding to it.
Right, reacting versus responding. Huge difference.
Massive. And this week isn't necessarily the most explosive or dramatic week of the entire year, but it offers this profound sense of quiet empowerment. It's a period that will deeply reward you if you are just willing to pause long enough to, well, ask better questions before jumping to conclusions.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we can start taking action and asking these brilliant new questions, the sources make it clear that we have to understand the rather murky emotional waters we're wading into, like starting right now.
Yeah, the waters are definitely murky today.
According to the forecast, Mercury moves into Cancer today, and it's going to stay there until August 9th. Now, Mercury is the planet of logic, communication, data, but Cancer is a water sign, driven by deep emotion, intuition, and memory.
Exactly.
So when you put the planet of logic into the realm of emotion, communication shifts from a crisp stream of consciousness to a messy stream of unconsciousness.
Stream of unconsciousness. That is
Yeah.
the perfect phrase for it. Because normally, we try to communicate through a linear progression. Fact A connects to fact B,
Right,
which leads cleanly to conclusion C.
right.
But with logic submerged in this watery sign, communication transcends mere facts. It drops into the realm of feeling and sensing.
Which gets complicated.
Highly complicated.
Yeah.
The mechanism here is that your brain starts prioritizing how a situation feels over what is objectively happening in the room. So you might find that a completely mundane conversation at work about, I don't know, a spreadsheet.
Yeah, just a normal Tuesday spreadsheet.
Right. It suddenly feels intensely personal.
And the forecast actually warns that old memories are going to surface unexpectedly. Like, you might think you're frustrated about a missed deadline, but suddenly old family dynamics or childhood insecurities are creeping into the room, totally hijacking your reaction.
It's a complete hijack.
And the line between your actual intuition and your emotional conditioning gets incredibly blurry. People are going to get overly nostalgic or fiercely protective of their opinions because they feel attacked on a soul level.
Yeah, rather than just debated on an intellectual one. And this exact confusion between memory and reality is captured so beautifully in the companion myth this week.
Oh, the Alara story.
Yes, the story of Alara. It follows this young traveler who has been wandering through a really long season of uncertainty. Plans have collapsed, doors have closed, and as she sets out on a pilgrimage, she meets a silver-winged spirit named Memory sitting beside a stream.
And memory offers her a drink, right?
Right, Memory offers her a cup of water. And when Laura drinks it, the text describes how she is just flooded with old, unhealed moments. Childhood fears, ancient disappointments, incomplete conversations, they all roar to the surface of her mind. And Alara asks the spirit, why show me these?
What I love about that moment is that she expects some grand revelation about her destiny, like some heroic insight.
Oh, for sure.
But she gets a very blunt psychological truth instead.
What's fascinating here is the spirit's response. Memory tells her, because what remains unhealed often disguises itself as intuition.
Wow.
Yeah, that single line is the mechanical key to understanding Monday's energy. When Mercury's in Cancer, your past is actively trying to narrate your present.
I want to pause on that for a second because it challenges everything we are taught about trusting our gut.
It really does.
Is our intuition that inner voice we treat as sacred? Is it sometimes just our emotional baggage wearing a really clever disguise?
Often, yes.
It makes me think of a smoke detector. It's an essential tool, obviously, designed to keep you safe from a house fire. But if it starts going off frantically just because you burned your morning toast, it's not actually giving you accurate information about the present threat level.
Right, it's just reacting to smoke. Doesn't
Right.
know the difference.
Exactly. It seems like this week, we are highly susceptible to reacting to burnt toast and treating it like the whole house is burning down.
And that overreaction is exactly what the myth warns against. Because later in the story, Alara meets another guardian, this giant woven from vines and golden bark named Hearthkeeper.
I love Earthkeeper.
Right. And Hearthkeeper points out that so many of the fierce arguments we have with people today are actually just conversations with our own past. We project our old unhealed wounds onto brand new situations. That's why Hearthkeeper tells Alara, hearing is not the same as knowing.
Hearing is not the same as knowing. That's powerful.
Just because your body is screaming a warning at you, just because the alarm is sounding, doesn't mean the threat is real in the present tense.
But if our internal world is this foggy, and we can't easily tell a genuine intuitive insight from an old trauma flaring up, how on earth do we anchor ourselves? Because you still have to live your life. You do.
You have to make decisions.
You do, and the source material offers a highly practical antidote for this, arriving on Tuesday with an astrological aspect called the Sun sextile Saturn. Now, a sextile is a 60-degree angle between two planets. And in astrology, this angle creates a cooperative, flowing bridge.
Okay.
You have the Sun, which represents our core vitality and identity, shaking hands with Saturn, the planet of discipline, structure, and responsibility.
It's like finally putting a sturdy wooden frame around a wild, abstract painting.
That's a great way to look at it.
The forecast says this brings clean, goal-oriented energy. It's a chance to get organized. The advice is to apply discipline to your mental projects and communicate your ideas in a grounded, practical way. Like, vague intentions aren't going to cut it here. People want to see actual follow-through. And the key directive for Tuesday is the necessity of taking one real action. You need to focus on a single, tangible goal and give it your full attention. The text explicitly warns against a very specific modern trap: endless overthinking disguises research.
Endless overthinking disguises research.
Yes, we are instructed to stop waiting for absolute certainty to descend from on high before we make a move.
Wait, I have to push back on this on behalf of everyone listening.
Go for it.
Because if you are dedicating time to a deep dive like this, you are probably someone who loves learning. You love gathering information and understanding the nuances of a situation.
Sure.
So isn't doing research a fundamentally good thing? At what point does gathering information cross the line and become a toxic trap?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really comes down to the psychology of accountability. Gathering information is essential right up until the exact moment it becomes a sophisticated avoidance tactic. Exactly. When we are afraid to take the first uncomfortable step, whether it's fear of failing, fear of being judged, or fear of making the wrong choice, we rationalize our hesitation. We tell ourselves, I just need to read one more book.
Yep.
I just need to consult one more expert. I just need to be absolutely certain.
The research itself becomes a comfortable place to hide from the vulnerability of actually doing the thing.
And that comfortable hiding place is exactly what Tuesday's energy shatters. Taking that one real action cuts through the pattern of avoidance. The source describes this as a profound lesson in taking ourselves seriously without becoming self-important.
Taking ourselves seriously without becoming self-important. I love the balance in that.
It's a delicate balance. You have to trust the preparation you did in May. Now, you have to press the power button.
But of course, nothing is ever perfectly smooth. Because once you take that brave, grounded action on Tuesday, the forecast warns that you might immediately slam into a new kind of resistance by midweek. And this resistance isn't external. It's coming entirely from your own imagination.
Wednesday is a highly complex day astrologically. We encounter Mercury square Neptune. Now, a square is a harsh 90-degree angle that creates intense friction and tension between two planetary forces.
Right.
On one side, we have Mercury trying to process logic and facts. On the other side is Neptune, functioning as a thick cosmic fog of dreams, illusions, and the subconscious.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because of that friction, the logic literally suffocates in the fog. The forecast says this aspect brings incredible creativity and beautiful emotional insight, like your mind can drift to deeply meaningful places.
It can be beautiful, yes.
But it also brings massive confusion, projection, and misinformation. The text uses a chilling phrase. It says, facts become blurred because feelings start narrating reality.
When feelings narrate reality, objectivity ceases to exist.
Yeah.
You lose the ability to see things as they are, seeing them only as you fear them to be. The forecast strongly advises against making important decisions or commitments on Wednesday.
Keep the pen away from the paper.
Yes. It is not the day to sign a contract, diagnose the fatal flaws in a relationship, or believe every dramatic thought that enters your head.
It sounds like trying to drive a car down a winding mountain road in a thick, blinding fog while your GPS is simultaneously yelling conflicting, highly emotionally charged directions at you, like turn left, your career is a failure. Rerouting, your friends all secretly hate you.
That's exactly
Yeah.
it. And you can't see out the windshield to verify if there's actually a cliff there or just a puddle.
Right.
To add to this tension, we also have Uranus conjunct Ceres on Wednesday. A conjunction means two planets are occupying the exact same degree of the zodiac, completely blending their energies. Ceres is an asteroid associated with nurturing, sustenance, and how we care for ourselves.
Okay.
And Uranus is the planet of sudden rebellion, liberation, and breaking the rules.
So rebellious nurturing, what does that even look like?
It manifests as an intense, almost sudden urge to fiercely protect your own authenticity. You might feel a desperate need to break out of any routine or relationship that feels confining or stifling to your growth.
Let me get this straight. You are driving blind in a fog, your emotions are screaming at you, and you suddenly feel an uncontrollable urge to rebel and break out of your current situation. That sounds like a recipe for absolute disaster.
It is a profoundly volatile mix. And this brings us back to Alara's journey, because she reaches a location called the Sea of Mirrors, which perfectly physicalizes Wednesday's energy.
I remember this part.
The sea is described as a dangerous expanse where heavy mist drifts over dark waters. And the terrifying mechanism of this sea is that the reflections don't show reality, they show interpretation.
Ugh, terrifying.
Right. Alara kneels by the water and immediately sees horrifying visions. She sees her friends abandoning her, her ambitions collapsing, entire kingdoms burning to ash. She sees 1,000 futures filled with catastrophe, and for a terrifying moment, the text says she believes every single image. Fear literally grips her throat.
She is watching her feelings narrate reality.
This raises an important question. How do we survive Wednesday? How do we harness the creative drift of Neptune without falling victim to the terrifying illusions in our own Sea of Mirrors?
Well, Alara survives because she remembers the lesson Hearthkeeper taught her earlier hearing is not knowing. She feels the terror, but she chooses not to act on it. She steps back from the water's edge.
Exactly, she waits.
She simply waits and watches. And slowly, because she doesn't feed the visions with her panic, the terrifying images begin to dissolve. The water becomes still. Beneath the chaotic illusions, there are just ordinary reflections of the sky and the trees, nothing more. She realizes that not every intense feeling is a prophecy.
And that is the exact navigational advice the forecast provides for Wednesday. If a situation feels incredibly emotionally charged, do what Alara did. Step back. Do not react immediately.
Just breathe.
Gather more information. Ask clarifying questions. Verify the details. You have to wait for the ripples in the water to still before you decide what the reflection actually means. The fear must exhaust itself before the truth can be seen.
Okay, so we wade through the emotional memories of Monday, take our grounded action on Tuesday, and survive the illusions of Wednesday by waiting out the fog.
That's the path.
And as we move toward the weekend, this internal journey of untangling our fears from reality naturally spills outward into how we treat other people. According to the sources, it leads to a profound collective shift.
Yes. Sunday brings Neptune sextile Ceres. After the blinding confusion of Wednesday's square, this cooperative sextile allows empathy to guide our interactions. The forecast notes a greater desire to be of selfless service, to be deeply aware of those who need support.
And to express care not through grand declarations, but through quiet, real actions.
Exactly. And this compassionate energy is actually a preview of a massive astrological event the forecast flags for June 12th. Uranus is going to square the moon's nodes.
The nodes?
Yes, the nodes that are described as karmic points that map humanity's evolutionary progress. The south node represents where we are coming from, our comfortable past, and the north node represents where we need to go to evolve.
Okay, that makes sense.
When Uranus, the planet of sudden change, squares these points, it brings a collective restlessness with current systems and a deep desire to break free from old paradigms.
It's like a systemic shakeup.
Precisely. The nodes are currently moving across the Virgo-Pisces axis. The forecast explains that this square from Uranus provides a powerful incentive to release the qualities of the Virgo South node. Now, the shadow side of Virgo energy relies heavily on fault-finding, blame, hypercriticism, and overanalyzing every minor detail.
Right.
It's the illusion that if we just control every variable, we will be safe.
Like a manager who micromanages every single aspect of a team project because they are terrified of it failing, ultimately suffocating the team's creativity in the process.
Precisely. The push now is to embrace the Pisces North Node, which represents the opposite approach: compassion, forgiveness, trust, and focusing on the larger picture. It requires surrendering the need to control every outcome and trusting the team to find their own way.
This maps so beautifully onto the climax of the myth, because Alara finally reaches the center of the world where the hidden well of unasked questions stands. But it's not a peaceful sanctuary like she expected.
Not at all.
There are thousands of people there demanding answers, begging for signs, shouting over each other. They want the manual to tell them exactly what to do, and the well is completely silent.
Silent.
But sitting nearby are two divine sisters, the Lady of Nourishment and the Lady of Compassion.
They perfectly embody the Ceres and Neptune energies we just explored. The Lady of Nourishment teaches that true care does not mean control. The Lady of Compassion teaches that understanding is always stronger than judgment.
And Alara asks them why the well refuses to answer the shouting crowds. The sisters give a response that honestly forms the core thesis of this entire deep dive. The Lady of Nourishment says, because answers can become cages. And the Lady of Compassion adds, better questions create freedom.
Answers can become cages. That is so profound. When we experience suffering or profound uncertainty, we demand an immediate, rigid answer. We want someone to tell us exactly whose fault it is, or exactly how it will all end.
We want that certainty.
But by demanding that absolute certainty, we lock ourselves into a narrative that limits our growth. We trap ourselves in that Virgo South node of endless overanalysis and blame.
So what does this all mean? The myth points out a tragic flaw in human nature, right? Whenever we encounter mystery, we rush to fill the silence with certainty, even if that certainty is terrifying.
You'd rather have a bad answer than no answer.
Exactly. Alara had traveled all this way intending to ask of well, what is my purpose? She wanted a definitive, unchangeable answer to her life. But standing there, reflecting on everything she learned, she looks into the water and asks a much better question. She asks, what gifts have my struggles already given me?
By changing the question, she fundamentally changes her relationship to her own history. She realizes that every past disappointment simply redirected her. Every ending was preparation for a new beginning. She stopped seeing herself as a victim of her circumstances and starts seeing herself as an active participant in her own evolution.
That's a massive shift.
It is. And this individual realization is tied directly to the global shift the forecast predicts. As old societal systems begin cracking and the inherited stories no longer fit our modern lives, we stand at a crossroads.
And the story notes that as things crack, many people will desperately look for villains. They will cling to familiar fears and demand rigid answers. But others will choose a different path. The ones who thrive during this systemic cracking will be the ones who question their own assumptions.
The ones who adapt.
Yeah, the ones who build new bridges, adapt to the fog, and stop demanding that the universe hand them a perfect, risk-free instruction manual.
The future doesn't change because we suddenly found the absolute right answer. The future changes because we paused long enough to ask the right question.
That is perfectly said. To bring this all together for you listening, here is your roadmap for navigating the week ahead. First, slow down your emotional reactions. Remember that your brilliant intuition might just be a triggered memory wearing a clever disguise.
Watch out for the burnt toast.
Exactly. Second, don't get trapped in the comfortable hiding place of endless overthinking. Take one grounded, practical action. Third, when the sea of mirrors tries to show you catastrophic illusions midweek, do not believe them. Step back, let the water still, and verify the facts.
Wait for the ripples to stop.
And finally, focus on asking better questions. Whatever mystery or deep uncertainty you are dealing with right now, you don't actually need an immediate answer to move forward.
I want to leave you with a lingering thought built on the wisdom of the spirit, memory. If it is true that what remains unhealed disguises itself as intuition, then consider this: what if the very thing you are most absolutely stubbornly certain about right now in your life is actually just an old wound trying to protect you. What would happen if you paused long enough today to question that certainty?
We started by talking about the terror of putting down the manual and finally pressing the power button. This week, the machine is turning on. You get to decide how to use it. Embrace the mystery, embrace the pause, and embrace the profound wisdom of the unasked question.